Yo, what is going on, everybody? This is Mysticall. Welcome back to my 8.3 Mistweaver PvP guide, where today I'm going to be answering a question I get quite often on stream, and that is the best 2s comp for Mistweavers. Now, I split up the 2s and the 3s just so I can, comps, just so I can point people in the right direction if they have certain questions. So I hope people don't mind that. And, yeah, I'm not going to waste your time. The best comps for you. The point of this video is going to be to give you guys the best teammates, and then strengths, weaknesses, win conditions, stuff like that. So you're not like blind, if you're playing a new comp. But I'm not going to waste your time again. Unholy Death Knight, Mystery Monk, Demon Hunter. Those are the top 3, I'd say, tier 1 comps you're going to be playing. You want to play. And for the rest of the video, I'm just going to go over their strengths, weaknesses, some honorable mentions if you don't have friends that play those specs. And with that said, let's jump right into it. So the third best teammate you could probably have is Unholy Death Knight. Now, Unholy Death Knights bring a lot to the table. One, they have so many interrupts. They have Mind Freeze, Pet Kick, Asphyxiate, Death Grip. That's 4. And if they're a Panda, they can use Panda Incap. That's 5 ways to interrupt casting, which is absolutely insane. Now, on top of that, they also have Chains of Ice, which is a very good slow. You can use that for kiting melee. Very, very good. For example, Windwalkers during Fist of Fury, you can actually Chains of Ice them and Death Advance away. Very good to avoid damage. And they also have pretty decent sustained healing. It's really nice. That's one of the reasons why they're so good, is they can actually survive for so long. Now, their weaknesses, biggest weakness is going to be their mobility. Again, their mobility is definitely a struggle for them, mostly because they don't have a lot of ways to get away or get out, or to keep continuing to kill somebody. If you're playing against a druid and you're Chains of Ice spamming, that's fine, but they can get out of every route and slow, so it's going to be a struggle. Versus Windwalkers, we just port away. They're pretty good versus Disc Priests, but most melee are, so they're also very they're countered by Windwalkers, which is a very popular comp or spec on the ladder right now, because Windwalkers have a talent called Turbo Fists. It's a PvP talent. It parries abilities when Fist of Fury is being channeled, and again, that stops your healing, because Unholy Death Knights need to be able to hit with Death Strike to be able to heal. So Windwalkers absolutely crush Unholy Death Knights, which is why I think they're the third best, mostly because they're countered by one of the most popular comps right now. So the second best teammate you can have, now 2 and 1 can change, but just because I've played with one more than the other, I have a different perspective. So the second best DPS you can have is a Demon Hunter. Now, the reason Demon Hunter is so good is because you have a definite win condition besides just damage. You have Mana Burn, which is good and it's bad, but it's good because, again, you have a definite win condition. You definitely can win with just Mana Burn healers. The problem is that some healers can get away much easier than others. For example, if you're playing against a monk with, I don't know, Relentless, or if they're human or they're orc and they have port, they could be able to get away very easily. It's going to be very hard to get a Mana Burn on them. Versus druids, if they get an entangling root, again, this is one of the biggest weaknesses, is roots and slows. If the druid gets an entangling root on the Demon Hunter and they can get away, you can't dispel it, it's going to be hard. The druids are going to be able to get a re-stealth, or even if they don't get a re-stealth, they'll be able to get away. So yeah, just because you rely so heavily on Mana Burn, it's kind of a good and bad thing, but roots and slows are also very bad for Demon Hunter. Again, though, insane mobility and insane sustained damage. So very good at just doing damage, being very mobile, chasing down enemies if they're trying to run away. Getting those Mana Burns is very important. Communications are very important. If you need to restun their stun, or incap their incap, or incap their stun to get the Mana Burn, very important to do, and communication is highly recommended with Demon Hunter. Now, some honorable mentions before I get into the number 1. Arms Warriors. I complain about them a little bit, but somehow my warrior and I have gotten a top 50 in North America, which is pretty insane. Mostly because their mobility is very, very poor, very bad. So they struggle versus Windwalkers, Death Knights, Demon Hunters, Mages. I mean, some really good Assassination Rogues. I mean, which is pretty much the entire 2s ladder. So Survival Hunters are also a little bit of a struggle. So yeah, but again, your win condition is going to be just doing damage, swapping, getting the Rens on everybody, and then you following up with CC with leg sweep incaps on the healer, or DPS if you're going on the healer. So that's your win condition. And then these next 2, Assassination Rogue Feral Druids. Now I know they both sound weird, but I queued into Feral Druids and the monk was playing Way of the Crane. Absolutely insane. I'm telling you, insane damage. But both of these, the reason why they're like honorable mentions, and I get this question, can monks play with assassination rogues? You absolutely can, but the problem is that they take, both of these classes take a lot of damage, and they take a lot of damage, not a whole lot of sustained healing, especially later in dampening. They don't have much for defensives, you know? So that's why they're kind of like an honorable mention and not really top 3, just because they take a lot of damage and you're going to need to go for mana quite often if you're playing with these specs. Try to go for early drinks, and most importantly, you need to be aggressive. If you're not playing aggressive, you're gonna very fast. So got to be aggressive, get those early kills, and if you don't, get drinks as often as you can. And finally, number 1, you've heard me mention the class spec quite often, and that is Windwalker Monk is definitely the best to play with the Mistweaver for multiple reasons. Mobility. Windwalker mobility is insane. Again, they also have Disable, which is a spammable route. So if you're trying to chase down a healer, very, very good. Trying to chase down a demon hunter or a very mobile DPS, another Windwalker, you have Disable, really good slow. But on top of that, you have a lot of cooldowns that line up. So for example, Ring of Peace. You both have Ring of Peace, which is very good. You both have Port and Leg Sweep and Incap. So again, the synergy is very, very good. And if one of you is in trouble, just Port behind the pillar, get behind the pillar, get some mana, pop a Mana Tea, and then just start healing, stuff like that. Also, the cooldowns are very short. So for example, if your Windwalker's in trouble, you can rotate Fortifying Brew, Life Cocoon, Karma, Port. I mean, you have 4 cooldowns on almost all of them are less than a minute that you can just keep rotating over and over and over again until you eventually get a kill. So on top of all the sustained damage that they also have a Mortar Strike debuff, which is from the Rising Sun Kick. It means that the enemies are taking less healing or receive less healing. So on top of the sustained damage, mobility, all the cooldowns, the enemies are also taking less healing, which is insane. Now, the biggest weakness, in my opinion, now I've played this comp 20 or 30 games, so I'm not insane at it, but the biggest weakness, from my opinion, is going to be the Windwalker. The Windwalker definitely decides how good the comp is. By that, I mean, Windwalkers take damage. They have a lot of cooldowns. They're short cooldowns, but they still take damage. So if you're playing against a Destruction Warlock and they pop Demon Soul, and your monk is eating damage and then karmas, I mean, sure, you karma, but you could just Port, So it's definitely up to your Windwalker to decide how good the comp is, in my opinion. Avoiding damage when they have to, and then being aggressive when they have to be. And yeah, that's pretty much it. Now, again, if you guys have played any comps that are different than what I've said, I would love to know. And if you want to see me play a certain different comp at a higher MMR, I think we're at like 2,500, 2,600 MMR. Please let me know. I'll try to make it happen. I try to reach out to as many people as I can. With that said, that's pretty much it. Hope everyone enjoyed the video. If you have any questions, as always, please let me know, and I'll see you later.